Well, hello. Okay, so um, I am Olga here on my Natural Sanity Mama channel, and I'm going to acknowledge the messy background and just going to say that this is your allow this to be your permission to make YouTube videos with messy backgrounds as a mom because who cares? And we're going to be able to get our knowledge and our wisdom and our intelligent advice out into the world a lot more readily if we stop worrying about cleaning up the mess first before making the video. So let this be your permission and acknowledgement of my messy background. Okay, so right now I'm here to talk about why I'm no longer a foodie. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean that when you're a foodie, you kind of live to eat, right? You're kind of every meal revolves around food. You can take hours preparing a meal. You love to go to the restaurant for the experience of having the meal. Now, it's not like I don't enjoy these things still. I absolutely love to cook when I have the time, right? Like in my 20s before I had kids, I cooked all the time and it was an experience and it was like this beautiful thing, form of expression and this time I had for myself with myself. And then when I ate the food, I could eat slowly, I could eat intuitively, I could eat like I could just really enjoy the meal. As you become a mom and you're just super, super busy with all the things, you still want to eat slowly. You still want to enjoy life, enjoy food in the same way, but it just becomes a lot more challenging to do so. And the slower we eat and the more we do enjoy our food, the more likely it is that it will actually absorb and digest in our bodies. Because if you're eating on the go in stressful situations, that won't happen. So I still very much believe that those things are essential. However, I treat food more like the medicine that it is in my body. I treat food more like a fuel, like you go and gas the car, and you, of course, are going to put in the best gas for your car. If it tastes great, that's an added bonus, and that's amazing. And the foods I create for myself are so delicious. But the focus is not so much on the deliciousness. The focus is on the nutrition and the nutrient content and the absorbability of the foods. So that's what I mean when I say I treat my food as medicine a lot more than the experience of eating. Like I live just to eat. Like I can't wait for my next meal, and all I'm doing while I'm at work is like thinking about my next meal right now and how delicious it's going to be. Like that, I feel like that used to be my life. And especially as a vegetarian before, I'm not anymore, but as a vegetarian before, I used to really eat a lot more often, and I used to need more foods to like satiate me and replenish me. So I feel like that had something to do with it as well, because you're always thinking about your next meal because maybe your body is not fully replenished, right? It doesn't have all the nutrients it needs. It's not as grounded because you're not eating as many grounded foods. And so you tend to really live to eat. You're always thinking about your next meal. You are, I guess that's like, to me, that's the definition of a foodie. If for you that's not at all what it is, then maybe this conversation won't make sense to you. But that to me is a foodie. It's like, oh my God, let's go to all the restaurants. And that very much used to be me. And I still love restaurants and I still love the experience of being in a restaurant, but it's more for the connection with the person I'm going with. It's more for the connection with, my friends that I'm there with. It's more for their company, and we're eating delicious food and we can talk about it, right? So it's like, okay, why is this act even important, and why is this even on my channel? Like, why is this even a thing? Because I find that when we treat food as medicine, we don't, first of all, think about food at all unless it's time, unless our stomach signals to us that it's time to eat. Like, we don't think about, like, I don't think about food unless my stomach is like, you're hungry, it's time to eat. And actually, there's no reason to eat emotionally, like, unless you're eating emotionally because some emotional trigger, and is making you pick up a bag of chips, or is making you want to eat another bowl of cereal, or is making you want to eat again, even though you're full. Like, you really shouldn't be picking up any food just because it's there. You really shouldn't be eating just because it's there. You should be eating because you are hungry. You should be following the rhythms of your body. You should be responding to the rhythms of your body. So this is how, like, this is kind of like liberated me. Not being a foodie anymore is very liberating, because in my day I focus on the things I need to focus on. I focus on my kids, I focus on my work, I focus on whatever I need to focus on. And when my body signals that it's time to eat, then I eat. I have a meal. I don't need to have snacks in between meals unless I'm just like not able to have a full meal right now, and I need to just extend that time a little longer, right? But I won't have a snack if I'm already full. I won't have a snack if my body's not signaling that I am hungry. And so I feel like this liberates us from this cycle of emotional eating, which can be a huge problem. And it is a problem for a lot of people, especially as moms. Like sometimes when my kid like screams super loud in my ear, something in that triggers like the emotional eating piece, right? Like, and that's not something that I think is beneficial to me, because I'm like, that's weird. Why do I feel like I need to have a snack right now? It's because sometimes the stress hormones, the high cortisol, is making us think like the food is going to satiate, it's going to calm us down. And really I think it's just the body's way of finding some way of grounding ourselves, because food is grounding. It's grounding. Filling your stomach is grounding. And so stress is the opposite energy. It's a high, like very high vibration, and not in a good way. It's like the anxious thoughts are kind of like I want to say a high pitched sound versus a low pitched sound. You know what I mean? Food gives us this like grounded, low pitch, like we are settled, have arrived, whereas stress gives us the opposite. And so you can understand how your body's trying to balance you by, okay, like let's fill your stomach with more, because you think it's going to solve the stress, but really you want to like regulate your nervous system in some way in that moment. You want to have a strategy to regulate your nervous system instead of reaching for the bag of chips or Doritos or whatever, right? So anyways, that's why I want to have this conversation, because I used to be somebody who cared, like I used to eat things because they tasted a certain way, right? Like I really like broccoli, I'm going to add this to my recipe. And that's great, but right now I'm like so much more thinking about the medicine in my food, that I really focus on adding the correct medicine to my food for what I need in this present moment. So, for example, throughout the week before my period and the week during, I'll add really nourishing, dense foods. I'll add animal foods. I'll be eating things that are a little bit more pre-digested, like blended soups. I will be drinking broths. I will be eating liver, like really highly dense nutrition from organ meats, like liver. And this is the thing, when it comes to organ meats, like I feel like this is the problem in our society. We're so focused on the taste of things, which is why we purchase the things with certain flavorings. And that's what companies really focus on. They focus on the flavor as opposed to the nutrition. And then you read the label and you're like, what the hell? There's like 8,000 ingredients in here, because they tried so hard to manufacture the flavor that they're going for, that like the nutrition doesn't matter anymore, right? And so if you can stop thinking about your taste buds, maybe this is easier said than done, but if you can switch from focusing on your taste buds to and being that foodie mentality to really like grounding into what is the medicine in my food and what is the medicine that my body is needing right now most, I just find that really liberating, because then you just put things in your life that are extremely nourishing and the right fuel for your body in that moment, right? So maybe you need premium gas for the time before your period as a woman, as a mother. I certainly do. I need specific foods during that time. And these are the foods that I learned are really, really good for my gut, are really, really good for my energy, and really good for my, like, those mood swings that we get the week before our period, if you still have that. And yeah, so that's really what I'm trying to explain here, is like, start looking at your food as a medicine. And if you haven't tried things like organ meats yet, that are so highly, highly nutritionally dense and beneficial for you if you get them from grass-fed or organic sources, if you haven't tried those yet because you're like, well, organ meats are disgusting. In your mind, they're disgusting because in our culture, we're just not used to eating them in North America. Like, not a lot of people eat organ meats. Then try for, instead of like forcing yourself to do that, right? Try things like pluck, which is like a spice, and there's some organ meats in there, and it's mostly just a very spicy, delicious, not spicy, but flavorful, delicious additive to your foods. So you can get micro doses of those highly dense nutrients, highly dense foods, highly nutrient dense foods, like organ meats. So that's how I want you to kind of like switch your mindset a little bit if you are struggling with kind of like really craving specific flavors. And that's another note on cravings, right? Cravings, I find for me, especially sugar cravings, they do come from things outside of us. Like, we don't realize this, but like some of our cravings come from the parasites and stuff inside of our bodies really wanting that sugar, wanting the carbohydrates. And so I like to do parasite cleanses for that twice a year. And so that'll kind of diminish our cravings. If we go off sugar for like 3 weeks, if we do a sugar fast, kind of not have any at all, your cravings for that will decrease. It's just the initial, if you're so used to having something in your life, it becomes an addiction. And so if you can take that out of your life for a few weeks, you will stop craving that thing. You will stop, if you have enough sodium in your body, you'll stop craving really salty things. If you are hydrated with the right things, you're going to stop craving chips. Like, if you, and also a lot of cravings come from not having enough protein in your body. So definitely, I would suggest, if you're having a problem with cravings, or you're just thinking about your next meal all the time, your next snack, I definitely would suggest adding more really good, high quality protein. So every single snack that you are having should have protein. Every single meal that you're having should have protein. Yep, without exception. So definitely, when you're looking at your plate, like, really, like, where's the protein? Ask yourself that. Super, super important. So that's all I have for you today. I hope this was useful in some way. It's really a riff on something that I've been thinking about a lot, and didn't really know how to talk about it. So I hope that came out in the way that is useful in some respect. Comment below, let me know if this has been useful at all. If not at all, or if you want me to elaborate on some particular aspect, just let me know and I'll make a separate video. Thank you, and have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.